It was the highest level meeting in Beijing between U.S. and Chinese leaders in years.
Very candid, very in-depth, and in places constructive. And in other places, we have a lot more work to do.
While both sides agreed on the need to stabilize communication, Secretary of State Antony Blinken will not return to Washington with an agreement from the Chinese side to set up military-to-military communication channels.
At this moment, China has not agreed to move forward with that.
Washington says military communication lines should remain open in the event of a crisis. Earlier this month, a Chinese warship came within 140 meters of a U.S. military destroyer, forcing it to slow down to avoid a crash. A week prior, over the South China Sea, a Chinese fighter jet flew across the nose of a U.S. surveillance plane. Tensions between the two nations are also high over Taiwan. China has said it wants to control the democratic island by military force if necessary.
The likelihood is that that would produce an economic crisis that could affect quite literally the entire world.
50% of commercial container traffic goes through the Taiwan Strait, and 70% of semiconductors are manufactured on Taiwan. On Chinese-Russian relations, Blinken said Chinese leaders have repeatedly assured the U.S. that China will not supply Russia with lethal aid that could be used in Moscow's unprovoked war against Ukraine.
What we do have ongoing concerns about, though, are Chinese firms, companies, that may be providing technology that Russia can use to advance its aggression in Ukraine. And we have asked the Chinese government to be very vigilant about that.
Analysts warn that Beijing is using the move to gauge global reaction.
Clearly kind of testing the waters to see what they might do with respect to helping Russia and Ukraine. I think, as far as I can tell, the Chinese motive is they want to maintain access to the European markets while helping Putin as much as possible and creating IOUs, if you will.
U.S.-Chinese relations hit new lows since the U.S. shot down a Chinese spy balloon earlier this year that flew through U.S. airspace. Blinken's trip was originally set for February, but was rescheduled after the balloon incident. World leaders seemed pleased with the Blinken-Xi talks, with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz hailing the meeting as a sign of a much-needed normalization of relations between Washington and Beijing. Carla Babb, VOA News, Washington.